Hello everybody, Dan here, and for the first time in a really long time, I've got another video for you guys. So I hope that you are happy to hear my beautiful, beautiful voice. Okay, so this video is going to be about the newly released Forza Motorsports. Well, actually, it's not technically been released. The 10th, I believe, is the real release, but I did get my hands on this game because I purchased early access. I've got Game Pass, and I paid the 30 some odd bucks to get it early on the 5th. So I've been playing now for about 3 days, and I've got a lot of hours in the game. Now, the reason why I'm making this video, I did not want to be like the other 10 million people and make this review video for Forza because everybody and their mama is doing it. However, I've been, just like I'm sure you guys have been, watching a lot of review videos. Many were from people who got the game for free in an early release candidate. And then, blam, 150,000 videos came out as soon as the embargo lifted. And then since then, there has just been a ton of videos that have come out since the early release has been out for a few days now. So anyways, I've been kind of annoyed with the negative evaluations that I've been seeing of this game. So I felt like, hopefully quickly, but you guys know how I like to ramble, I want to give my take on it. Because I feel like it has been unfairly given this really negative context, and you hardly ever hear anybody talking good about it. There's kind of been two camps since the video started coming out. The larger of the two camps is people who are absolutely hating on the career, hating on the car leveling system, and basically saying the game is terrible. And then there's a very small minority of people who are saying it's great. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I saw a video today by Game Riot, and they were so positive on the game, I'm not even really sure they've actually played it, because what they were saying was so far from my experience that I don't even know what they were talking about. Just spoiler alert, my opinion, my impression so far of this game is that it is somewhere in the middle. It's got a lot of good, but it's also got a lot of bad. But I do not think it deserves all the negative hate. So I've jotted down some things I want to discuss and kind of talk about and just give you my opinion on it in case you haven't picked it up yet, and I'll let you know whether I think you should. And as I said here, I paid for this with my own money. I do have Game Pass, so it was included in Game Pass, but I did pay the 30 or 40 some odd dollars for the early release. So everything I say here is, my true opinion. And then I also wanted to say that I have not played this with a controller. I am playing it with a wheel. I have a Fanatic CSL DD, 8 Newton meter version, and that's what I've been playing with. And I'm also playing on the PC, not a console version, and I've got a fairly older system. It's not that great, but it's okay. So I've got an i7 7700K is my processor. I've got an AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT 12 gigabyte graphics card. And I've got some older DDR4 RAM, but I do have a ton of it. I've got 48 gigabytes. So not the worst computer out there, but certainly nothing really modern that you would really want to have to run this game properly. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing I want to talk about, and this is a big problem that we've always had anytime anybody that's ever done any kind of real sim racing, when they talk about games that are specifically for consoles and for controllers and stuff, they're always reviewing these games without giving realistic expectations. Like, the first thing I would say is, before you ever pick this game up, if you have ever sim raced on iRacing or ACC or Assetto Corsa or any of these games that are typically found as PC-only games, you need to lower your expectations of what you think this game is supposed to be. It doesn't matter what Turn 10 says. It doesn't matter what the developers say. They can say it's the most realistic physics engine ever in the world, and they do say that a lot. What you have to realize is you have to lower your expectations. That's just not going to be the case here. At the end of the day, I don't care if you want to call it a sim, a game, or something in the middle. It doesn't matter. This is a game that you do drive cars. However, it's limited when it comes to the physics engine and stuff like that. And you just have to keep that in mind so that you don't go into it expecting it to be some crazy, awesome, perfect physics engine, because it's not going to be that. So if you go into this sim or this game, whatever you want to call it, with some realistic expectations, then you're going to enjoy it, is my opinion. So let's get into that. So I want to talk about wheel physics and force feedback. And again, I'm on a CSL DD8 Newton meters. Okay, whether or not you're going to think these physics and force feedback are any good is going to highly depend on what you've done. So what I mean by that is if you've never played a game on a wheel, and this is the first game you've decided I'm going to jump in and I am going to get a wheel, even if it's a cheap wheel, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a direct drive. But if you've never used one and you jump into this game and you use a wheel, you're going to be absolutely blown away because you've never experienced something like that before. You're going to be blown away. Now, on the other side of things here, if you have used high-end wheels on games like I talked about before, or sims that I talked about before, then yeah, it's going to be a little lackluster. You're not going to be that thrilled about what it has to offer. But that being said, personally, to me, it is a huge step forward from Forza Motorsport 7. To me, that was terrible. Forza Motorsport 7 was one of the worst I've ever played out of the series. And this is a huge step up for sure. And then the other thing that I see a lot of videos, or I see a lot of these people making their claims about the video. In their videos, what I see them driving are one of the first three cars that you have when you start the career. So it's either a Ford Mustang, a Subaru WRX, and I think it's a Honda Civic. Personally, I've used the Mustang and I used the WRX. So what I don't think you should do is base how the overall game will feel based on those three cars, because for whatever reason, those cars that you start out with, they feel terrible. They feel like they've got too much weight on the wheel. There's no real feel. There's no nothing. But what you'll find is as you progress in the game and you move over to cars with more downforce, more aerodynamics, stickier tires, stiffer suspension, that's when the game actually really comes to life. And that's when, personally, I think the force feedback actually starts to feel good, but you do have to tweak it. And that's another thing too. Right out of the box, this game does not feel great at all. And I think the developer does that because they know there's going to be such a wide variety of wheels used, from very low powered to very high powered direct drive wheels, that they can't really dial in for one specific wheel. So they kind of stick all of the stuff in the middle, and then they leave it up to you to figure out how to make your wheel the best. Now, the good thing about that is as time progresses, you will find that on forums and Facebook pages and stuff like that, your specific wheel will have dialed in settings, or you can do like I did and I spent a whole night, basically 4 or 5 hours, dialing in the force feedback for this wheel, and I've actually got it feeling pretty damn good. And if you guys are interested in what my settings are, I posted them in my community post, so you can go there if you just want to know what the sliders are. But if you actually would like to know why I changed the settings, I guess I can make a video. Just let me know in the comments if you want me to do that. But you definitely going to have to spend some time dialing the force feedback to get it to feel right in this game. It's not going to be like Assetto Corsa and some of the other games that just feel good right out of the box. It's just not going to be like that. Next thing I want to talk about is something that a lot of people have been really having some negative critique on, and that's the graphics performance. So, yes, right out of the box, this game is pretty hard on a system, especially a system with older equipment like mine. But I'm not so sure that any of these people are actually taking time to adjust the settings to get a better experience. Because while it's not great with the default settings, if you tweak some stuff, you can get it to look pretty good. A lot of people are talking about the stuttering and the frame rates that are all over the place. And I'm going to be honest with you, what I have found, that is the case with this game, along with many games that have a system built in to actively adjust the dynamic textures and the dynamic resolution as you're playing the game. It is adjusting things, lowering the resolution, raising the resolution, removing things in the distance. What happens is you get a very varied frame rate when that happens, and that is definitely what happens right out of the default setting in this game. What also happens is you get a lot of pop-ins, and 1 second the game will look great and then it'll look bad. I have found, especially for this game and many others, that if you turn off all those automatic default settings and just go ahead and pick specific settings that work well with your system, you will get a much better experience. That's what I did. So even with my lower, not so great system, I have adjusted a lot of settings. I have them on fixed settings. So I've like physically picked either medium or high or ultra or whatever I could for specific things, instead of letting the game decide actively as I'm driving around what it needs to be. I have just locked it on something. I also unlocked the frame rate, because the default it is, I forget, I want to say it was locked at like 60 or something like that. So anyways, so if you go through and you play with the settings, you can get a pretty decent experience. Right now I'm ranging anywhere from 60 to maybe 85 frames on this system, which I think is pretty good. And it does look very, not very smooth, but it looks reasonably smooth if you adjust those settings. Now, here's where I tend to somewhat agree with what people are saying. The graphic visuals, so not the performance per se, but what you're actually seeing. So I'm going to say that this looks pretty similar, if not the same, as far as like graphic visuals as Forza 7. To me, it doesn't look any better, and it doesn't look any worse. It looks about the same. So it's definitely not this crazy new beautiful thing that they would have made you think it was going to be a couple months ago as they were talking about it. And as a matter of fact, I do play Forza Horizon 5 also on this same PC quite often. And to me, Forza Horizon 5 looks way better. Honestly, it just looks way better, and it's weird because you've got that great big open world that it's having to render, and it looks better. And I get on average over 100 FPS in that game. So I don't know what the deal is. The other thing that people talk about that I tend to agree with is most things look like they have very soft edges, and that's no matter what you do with the settings. It just looks a little soft. It's kind of got like this general haziness to the sim or the game, whatever you want to call it again. Across the board, it's just got this haze to it. And I know that developers tend to do that when they've got a very demanding game and they have to reduce the textures off in the distance. Many times what they'll do is they will add that artistic haze, which what it kind of does is it kind of hides the fact that they're using textures in the background that may not be that beautiful. And I think that's what the case is here. So that's neither here nor there for me. I don't care. Whether or not you like the artistic design of the game, yes, they went for something different. It's going to be up to you whether you like that or not. It doesn't bother me at all, honestly. I'm playing the game to drive the car, so it doesn't bother me at all. But yes, it's not a huge step up like they said. One thing that I would totally do, no matter what system you have, I would turn off the RTX. The RTX, I think, is just too much. I just don't think hardware, even the best hardware like 4090 Ti's, in a game like this, I think it's just going to take so much performance away from the game that it's just not worth it. In a game like this, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, when hardware has gotten better, maybe RTX will be fine then. But I feel like they've leaned too heavily on RTX to make the experience look better when people's hardware is just not ready for it. So what happens is you get people like me who have had to remove the RTX, which is where most of the reflections go in this game. And or that's how they create most of the good looking reflections is RTX. So people like me don't even see it, and even people who have it turned on, it just causes this quite stuttery experience. So it's not worth running it anyways. So I think they just maybe have leaned on RTX too heavy for this game, and it has caused it's just caused some issues. If I had to say what this looks like, so it's hard to tell when you're watching it on a video through YouTube of somebody else's recording, but sitting in front of my computer, this looks very similar to me to like Assetto Corsa 1. And I'm not talking about the artistic nature or the post-processing. I'm just talking about the crispness of the visuals. Looks kind of like AC1 and kind of like iRacing. As a matter of fact, there's some cutscenes when your car is in the pits in this game in Forza Motorsports, and it really, really reminds me of iRacing. It's pretty crazy. It's kind of uncanny how much they look the same with the little characters moving around in the background. But yeah, so that's what the deal is there, and this is getting longer than I would hope, so I apologize, but we're going to keep rolling through these notes I've made for myself. Okay, so the sounds. I've seen all over the board people talking about the sounds are good or the sounds are bad. So I think the sounds are just okay. I think they've, again, leaned too heavy on all these extra outside of the car sounds, trying to make you feel like you're in an environment. And personally, I turned most of that stuff down or off. So I have got my engine sounds up at 100, and then all of that other stuff I've got down to at least 50. So the things you hear off in the distance, the echo of the cars off the walls, I think that stuff is just too overblown, but you can fix that pretty easily by simply going into the audio settings and turning all that stuff down a little bit, and it sounds a lot better. So there, yes, out of the box, it doesn't sound that great, but you can fix it. All right, now this is a big one. Everybody is basically just talking pure shit, forgive my language here, about the career, okay? And all I've been playing is the career. I have not played online yet. I've only been playing the career, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't understand this hate for the career. Yes, it is different. Yes, it is not one of those careers where they give you everything up front. It makes you work for what you want. But personally, I agree that, I enjoy that kind of thing. I don't want to buy a game to beat it day one and have no reason to play it again. It gives you a reason to keep on grinding. I know a lot of people don't like to grind. Well, guess what? You don't have to play the grind. There is a single player mode where you can pick any car, any track, any combination, and you can jump right in and do anything you want. If you don't like to grind, go play that. That's fun too. I've done that. Matter of fact, the video playing in the background, that's what that was. But the career has been really enjoyable, and no, it is not the type of career that many of us wanted. Like a lot of us old fogies, myself included, that are in their mid 30s, 40s. I'll be 41 in December. We are used to playing the original careers from stuff like Gran Turismo 1, Gran Turismo 2, Forza 1, Forza 2, and a couple other games where there was a really in-depth a really in-depth career where you started at the bottom with a crappy old car and you raced that damn thing until you could soup it up enough to outrun people. Then what would happen is you'd finish that series or a couple of series and that car would no longer be fast enough. So then you went and you got another car that was slightly faster and you raced the hell out of that car until you upgraded enough to get a new one or to upgrade it. You know what I mean? It was rinse and repeat. But back then, the games didn't have 500 cars, 600 cars, 700 cars. They only had a couple hundred cars. So it's just a different world that we live in now, and I don't see us ever having a career like that again, because the developers have to incorporate a career that's going to utilize the time and the development of all these cars they're putting in the game. So, but anyways, I don't think the career is that bad. As a matter of fact, there is a Fox Body Cup, I think is what it's called. Anyways, it's like late 80s, early 90s Mustang Cup that I can see it, but I don't have access to it. And I want to get to it because I personally love those cars. I've had a bunch of them. So, it's little things like that that I see that I got to keep grinding out this career so I can get to that series. And then a lot of people, they're also talking about how the upgrade system is crap and you have to use the things they specifically unlock for you. All of that is garbage. Since I've started playing this game and I've done a bunch of the career, I have not yet once felt like I couldn't put the part on the car that I needed to be competitive in a race. That has not happened once. So what is actually happening is, yes, you're unlocking parts, but you unlock the parts at a much faster rate than you would need them. So by the time you need the part, you have access to that part as well as many other parts. And it is it's a game to figure out, with the points that you have, what will be the best parts out of the available parts to put on this car to make you competitive. And that I personally love. I like it. Again, I'm not the kind of person that likes a game that just throws everything at you on day one and you get bored with it a week later and never play it again. The career here is something that I believe, this is a personal preference, but I believe I'll just keep going back to this and trying different cars and etc. and just keep going. It has some extendability, or maybe that's not the right word, but it has some, I think it does have depth. It will have depth in the way that it was created. Just by nature of the way that it's created, it gives the career depth. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about it. Play it yourself, but I think it's pretty good, whereas most people are saying it's terrible. Personally, I think the people who are saying that haven't really played it that long, so they haven't got far enough into that career to really know what it's all about. That's just what I think. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I believe. Next thing I want to talk about, I do tend to agree with most people in these videos. The AI are pretty damn bad. They're not great. But the weird thing is there's no consistency to it. So no matter what level you put the AI on, it's like 1 through 10, whether you put it way down at 1 or way up at 10, it's always the same. The first half of the back half, I should say, the slower back half of the AI cars are absolute wreckfest. Literally crashing into each other, barreling into the back of you, running off the road for no reason. And it is a challenge to make your way through those without running into stuff or getting run into or running off the track or whatever. So that's in a game in itself, just getting through those people. But it's crazy because as soon as you get through about half of the pack, then all of a sudden the people up front are really good. The AI up front, they race you hard. They are, they're good. They are really good. And so I'm hoping that they'll update the AI in time to make all of the AI through the pack good racers. Just make some of them slower. They don't have to be morons like they are now. Just make them all good racers. Just make some of them slower. Because I'm telling you, I've had a lot of fun battling the AI in the front half. In the back half, it's kind of a shit shot. But anyways, that's the AI. I tend to agree with what most people are saying there. So there's just some things that lie to be seen. You know, one of the big things that I haven't really had to do yet that I'm curious is, will I ever have a reason to reuse some of these cars that I've upgraded in the career? Will I, so for example, I've got an old Ford Focus RS I was driving in one of the earlier career paths or races or whatever you want to call it. And I really enjoyed racing that car, but will I ever drive it again? I don't know. Maybe I will further in the career, but as of right now, I don't know. That's one of the things that I'm not sure about right now. Is there a repeatability with the same car over and over again? So far, it seems like there's not. Some things about the devs. It is, I think this game is a really good base as it sits, but will the devs listen to the community and work on things like the performance, the graphical performance? Will they work on the AI? Will they fix the stability problems people are having? Will they fix the problems that people are having with stability? Because I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they're having issues with stability. And then the other thing is, right now, I haven't played it personally, so I'm not going to say much about it, but it does seem that there's general consensus of positivity about the online experience. And will that continue to be that way and get better or not? And so that lies to be seen too, but I am curious about that. But this video has gone way too long. You guys know how I do this. If you're longtime subscribers, I ramble and ramble and ramble. That's no different here, but I'll end it with this. This game, whether you want to call it a racing sim or a racing game, doesn't matter. But in my eyes, as someone who paid for the game, didn't get it for free, does not have an early release candidate, so I got the quote-unquote full game that I paid for with my money, personally, I think it's much better than what most videos will lead you to believe. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is any game perfect these days? No. So that's no different than anything. So it's not perfect, but it is pretty good, and I am really enjoying it. I played it every day for many hours. I'm recording this video right now at almost 1 a.m. It's 12:54 a.m. my time. So I just got done playing, and now I'm recording this video. So I'm playing it a lot, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And this is what I would say to you. If you have Game Pass, currently in the state that the game sits in on the 10th or whenever it releases, if you have Game Pass, play it. Download it and play it, and I think you will enjoy it. With the state that it's sitting in right now, I do not know that I would purchase it as a full price AAA game, because I don't think it's a $60 to $100 game right now. I just don't believe that. But if you have Game Pass and it's free, play it. I think it's well worth it. And hopefully in time what will happen is they'll update it and fix some of these issues that we're having. And then it will be a proper AAA title. And I do believe that is their intention. I think Turn 10's intention was to get this thing released, get it in people's hands so we could see what the issues were, work out those bugs, and then make this a platform that will be something to drive for a long time, that will get better over time. So at 25 minutes in, or whatever this is, long story short, I think it's pretty good. I think it's way better than what people are saying, and I don't know why everybody's making those dumb videos. I would say that it's probably because most of the people got it for free and they played it for about an hour and a half and then made a video pretending like they knew everything about the game, which is typically what happens. But that's not the case at all. I've been playing it. It is fun. If you get an opportunity to play for free through Game Pass, jump on it. I think you'll enjoy it. The career is not as bad as everybody says. The upgrading system is not as bad as everybody says. Graphical performance is not that great, but you can fix it and dial it in. Same thing with the force feedback. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If I make another video down the road, I will talk to you guys again. But as always, guys, thanks so much for listening to me ramble, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one if there is one. See you later.